The guys in the cafe put on their own stuff. They're very interested. They're very time poor, and I'll tell you why they're time poor. They're a very open, creative space. You can go and sit in there and read for hours. Nobody bugs you about doing this or doing that. They have talks from one day when we were in there, and there were Kabbalah people out the back. And in the middle was, there was a small Sydney uni group getting together. And in the front area, we were having a meeting about an event that we were going to put on there, which was a improvised poetry and music night. And so you had that massive clash already of people coming together. It's actually a business called Palms Australia, and what they do, which is really cool and creative, is that they believe education is what changes the world. So they send skilled Australians to go over and work in developing countries, and not to go and tell them what to do, but they have to go. Anyway, it's a great program. So that you've got that whole combination of going, okay, well look, how the hell are we going to raise money to send people over to educate villages in the world about water? Oh, gee, I don't know. They opened a cafe, and it's a great cafe. Please go. And it's great. They're lovely people. So that's one example. Also then, recently I've been working with a group called the Mind Gallery. And what I like about these guys is they don't even call themselves creatives. They started from the educational background. And they're very organised, very, you know... But what they do is they get really cool creative wackos to work on their projects. So we did a job for American Express. I know, promoting debt. But anyway, we did a job for American Express down at Piedmont, and you had like, I think we painted 3,000 canvases that all went to the Red, like every canvas gave $50 to the Red Cross. It was the funnest weekend. You had 40 artists, all from Sydney, interacting with the public, getting them to paint their own canvas. And the public loved it. It was all about access. We had to take photos, and then those photos were put up into a massive billboard to make the leaves of one tree, which I think is so cool. And for American Express to kind of embrace that, and also for the company, for the Mind Gallery, to go, we want interesting people. We want to have creative people engaging in a very, very, I mean, it's a very commercial thing, but I've done a couple of other things for them. Anyway, so that's an example. Now I'm going to tell you about 107 projects. So, as I said, we ran a space in Sydney. It closed because we couldn't afford to do things properly. We never gave up the dream. So, what did we do? We still don't, I mean, the laws have changed, but we don't have $1 million in the bank to buy a venue. We are not a part of a big hotelier group. We're not property developers. We're all still working artists. We all work as artists full time, but as people know, sometimes you don't necessarily have any money in the bank. And in fact, everybody knows that. What am I talking about? It's not just in the bloody creative people. Anyway, so we formed a charity. Ooh, charity's not commercial. Hang on. We formed 107 projects. The reason why we became a charity organisation is, yes, you get more grants maybe because you have access to different levels of grant funding. Yes, you know, government agencies and foundations, you know, philanthropic things, yeah, we've got more access to that. But most importantly, it was also about keeping the focus of our work true to what we believe in, which is space and people. So community plus space, you love that, you're going to get innovation. I'll talk about, if I have time, some of the other works that we've been doing, because a lot of you might have walked through them or seen them. In fact, we're doing a job for FIFA at the moment, which is interesting. Anyway, so 107 projects, we are a charity organisation, which basically means we can make as much money as we want, but what does it have to do? Go back in to the association, which is great, because that's what we do anyway. I mean, that's the same way as, you know, making lots of money to then be able to do a creative project. This way, it's our big creative project, and what we're doing is making as much money to put into it. So eventually, we've got ideas of having an exchange program with either a couple of ones, anyway, different organisations and other galleries and stuff overseas, but we're not going to be able to implement that for a while. So it's that whole... So what we're doing is we've been for the last 2 years trying to find what we don't have. I think the first thing is to not go, oh, we're great, is to go, what don't we have? we didn't have the commercialisation in a solid form. We didn't know about the building code and what we'd need to do. And finally, bit by bit, we've been meeting the people and extending our hearts and hands out to people to say, look, we've got this idea. We want to open a new, totally legal, totally artist-run space in Sydney, which at the moment outside of the... there's a great one in Inner West, the Red Rattler. Please go. It's one of the best spaces in Sydney. But we want to do it right in the heart of Sydney. And property is bloody expensive, let me tell you about that. But we have got together with people who understand what the building code is about. But the main thing is not just the commercialisation versus creative. I think what really brings it together, and hence why it's a social enterprise, is the big umbrella is community. This is actually an artwork. Well, Pete's Ridge was cancelled one year, so we went to a friend's farm and all the decorations for the tent that we made, we created that installation and hung out there for New Year's Eve. It was lovely. But the other way of looking at that is this kind of a slide. So, ladies and gentlemen, community is the umbrella. No, seriously. Then we've got creativity, which for me is decisions and informed risk-taking. We've got conversations, which is networking and brainstorming. You've got to get out there. You've got to find people who are interested in what you're doing, who can help, whether it's through an idea, which for me is connections, and it's a way of kind of, never be turned off. Like, you can find something inspirational from being in what people could call the most mundane situations. Like, never, in the same way, it's be curious. That's another C we should add. And then we've got collaborations, and then obviously commercialisation is a really, really, really important one. Through the commercialisation, so probably people are going, oh, where's the space? Where is the space? We're very, 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 very close, in fact, negotiating a certain something, but I can't talk about it yet because otherwise the board will kill me. And once we have that space, it will be completely creative, but we are going to run it like it was any other bar in Sydney. But it's going to have good stuff. And it's going to be a place where you can relax and where you don't have to feel you've got that sharp creative or intimidation. It's a place to share and connect. And all the beer and all the art and everything that we make will go back into the space. And that's a really key thing, because then it's fueling its own fire. And that's the really great thing with commercialisation. You are left alone. It's autonomy. You don't have to do an acquittal, or you don't get branded because you don't get banned from presenting work because it's too politically unsafe in this current climate. Oh, really, and this censorship stuff. Anyway, so 107 projects. We are building a new space in which it will be commercially operated, but total creative content. And that's the way that we wipe away the dirty, dirty, dichotomotic dance. It's creative and logic hand in hand. So I welcome you all to come along and when the space is open, enjoy it. And get out there and have some fun, because commercial isn't boring and creative isn't fantastic. It's about a great idea and working with great people and making fun, fantastic work that have successful outcomes in all areas. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.